All right, there was one other thing that I wanted to talk about was how big should my position sizing be? Um, Dr. Van Tharp wrote a huge textbook on this. It's called Definitive Guide to Position Sizing. I recommend if you have trouble sleeping at night, you go pick that up and open it up, and I'd say over under about 2.5 minutes, you'll be asleep. Um, Granted, you're in your bed, open that book up. It's just immediate. It's like magic. But the biggest thing that I could get out of that book was probably that win rate is a huge determinant of your position sizing. So if you have, let's say, a 15% win rate, something really small, you can't really count on that 15%. Let's say, a free throw shooter, 15%. That's basically an 8-year-old trying to Granny Smith his shit, man, and the ball's too big for him. And, that's a 15% free throw shooter. You can't really bet money on that 15%, can you? Yeah, you'll make more if it goes in, but you can't rely on it as much. The reliability is so bad. But then you put Steph Curry, who is a professional, on the line. Obviously, you want to bet on him, but you won't make much because it's a high win rate, right? But because he's a 90% free throw shooter, you can place more money on the on a higher win rate. Because he's a consistent, he's reliable, he's a professional, he does this, he's a free throw shooter. You can rely on that. And because that reliability, he calls it reliability in his book, I believe. I think it's reliability. It's win rate. That's what it's called. It's a win rate. And he calls it reliability. And I think that that's a really good term for it because that's really the reliability of your system. So the harness, you're controlling a horse with the reins. The best reins, the most control you have, the higher the win rate, the more control you have. Plain and simple. So, higher win rate is more important. I understand the risk reward. I understand the expectancy equation. But if you have consistency and reliability with those win rates, and it just generally does, and it's just really high win rate, I'd rather take that over a smaller win rate with the same expectancy. I think everybody would because the variance, the drawdown, the everything is better. So I just want to show you, just want to talk about that, and then I want to say, well, the way I think about it is that, let's say you're risking 1 to make 3. That's very common, a 3R, right? The probability inherently is a 25%. Okay, 25% win rate inherently, without any edge, just blindfolded. You buy it, and you're selling at 3R. How do I know this? Is because I've already done 8,000 personal trades. Okay, yes, over trading like a maniac, but I maniacally tracked every single trade and how far they went. And the 3R happens 25% of the time. It's unbelievable. It's unreal. The more and more I look at this, every analysis that I do, the more and more fixed the probabilities are. But you can take my word for it or doing your own experiment or do an algorithmic experiment that I've done, and you still get pretty freaking even odds, bro. So the inherent win rate, this is the win rate we're fighting against. If you have a 33% experimental probability, let's say you win 40% of the trades on a 3R, well, you're fighting gravity because gravity's at 25%. But you're being paid for that, right? You have a higher expectancy. So if the win rate's at 25%, you're going for a 3R. That's in your inherent probability is 25% win rate. What are the odds that will incur 5 losers in a row? there's a 25% chance of losing 5 trades in a row, right? Because that 75% is the loss rate, and you multiply it by itself 5 times, and you get apparently 24%. So what does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean much to our brains because we don't work well in percentages, but I can tell you that if you do 1 minus that, or 1 divided by that, you get 4. And what is 4? What's so special about that? It's the you'll likely mathematically have a string of 5 losers every 4 trades. That's more powerful to our brain. That we can understand better than 24%. We can understand about every 4 trades, I'm going to have a string of 5 losers. So when we're experimenting with our position sizing and how it relates to our daily loss limits that we set up for ourselves, or that the prop firm has for us, we have to balance out this for ourselves. And the best way I would do it is based on the frequency of trades. Let's say you trade 10 times a day. Well, be able, if you're going to have a string of 5 losers, don't have too much per trade, because then if you do incur that 5 trade loser, you don't hit your max loss. So bring it to 10 trades, right? You can bring it to 10 trades. So have your daily loss limit, let's say, is $500, and you need 10 trades. Well, you just do $500 divided by 10, and that is your risk per trade is $50. And you're like, that's tiny. Yeah, well, you won't hit daily loss limit nearly as much. And then because the string of 10 losers in a row, that could happen, but it happens once every 18 trades in general. There's only a 6% chance of that happening. It's more rare, but about once every 18 trades, you'll get that. So I think 5 is, I think 10 is fine. So if you do lose 10 in a row, that's rare, but that sucks. Without a single winner, then you'll hit your max loss. So I think don't do every single risk reward. Every single system shouldn't be $50 risk, right? Your frequencies are different. Even if you have the same frequency, if you have a 1R, you can risk a lot more per trade because you have a higher win rate, because you're only going for 1R. You have a much higher win rate. I mean, I've done days where my 1R win rate is 23%. I'm like, this is not possible. This is preposterous. And I'm losing 77% for a 1R. I mean, you can't be worse than that, bro. I urge you to try to beat my lowest score. It's not possible. Not possible. But then you can see that risking 1 to make 7 is also cool. Once you have, let's say, just do one example with higher risk reward here. Let's say 1 for 7, which is far out, right? It's a 13% inherent win rate. Very rare. However, a string of 5 losers happens every 2 trades. You're going to be losing constantly. What about a string of 10 losers? Happens about every 4 trades. You're going to have a string of 10 losers. Every 4th trade? Yep, in general. I know the distribution's kind of random. Okay, it's scattered, but in general, you can expect to lose 10 trades in a row every 4 trades if you're risking 1 to make 7. That's huge. So in general, same frequency per trade or per day is 10, I'm going to have to limit this way lower. I'm going to have to risk $25 a trade, because you're just going to be losing, man. You're going to be losing. So risk less. Mathematically, how much would I risk? Well, if my win rate's, I would put my win rate as no edge. But obviously I would think I would have some edge. String of 10 losers is once every 4 trades. I mean, I trade 10 times a day. man, I could easily have 10 losers. If that's 10 times a day, I can easily have 10 losers. See, that's what I'm saying. I would not like this system. You're caught because you only trade 10 times a day generally, or whatever the frequency you have. Could be a lot more than that, but and then you lose that many. I mean, that's tough, bro. You're gonna have loser days all the time. So I would do. I mean, if you could just accept losses, your daily loss limit constantly, I would probably do the same risk, but I'd probably go lighter. I'd do $25. But you're not going to be able to do $25 with micros and stuff, so you'd have to even go small, or you'd have to go bigger. But unless your daily loss limit's bigger, that'd be great. You can set that up for yourself. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I kind of wanted to show. You risk more when you can have a higher win rate, risk less when you have a higher risk reward and lower win rate. But obviously it's based on expectancy, but expectancy is transient. I'm not necessarily sure how trustworthy. Where do you get your expectancy? How many trades did you do in your back test? How do you know the trades in your back test are going to be the same in the future? You don't know if they're going to be the same, but how comparable are they really? Like, is it algorithmic? It doesn't have to be. I'm just asking. If it's not, then how comparable can it be? How similar is each trade to each other? It's just so tough. That's why I do rely on algorithmic. I like that better because then the computer says is yes or a no, bro. Yes or a no. Yeah, so that's all I really had. Very interesting stuff, though. This is position sizing. All right, peace.